Did this deck list have Badgermole Cub when I was sent it? Nope. Am I gonna add Badgermole Cub to it? Yup. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and Marco sent me what honestly looks like a pretty sweet list. This is a Wight of the Reliquary Eumidian Hatchery deck list, and we've seen Eumidian Hatchery pop off plenty of times on this channel while playing something like Smallpox. It is a way to just create an army out of a land drop, and that's awesome. And if you have ways to consistently tutor it up, that can be very, very, very powerful. So what this deck wants to do is just kind of play a mid-rangey, almost lands style game before eventually getting rid of your own Eumidian hatcheries to quickly turn the corner on a game. And there's Bloodghasts. Oh, that's very different art. There's Bloodghasts here in this initial deck list. And after seeing my opponents just absolutely body me with Badgermole Cub, I wonder if Badgermole Cub is just going to be largely better than Bloodghast in this deck. Bloodghast is cool because with Wight of the Reliquary, it's something that you can sacrifice and then it will come back immediately when you get the land. But Badgermole Cub is just kind of busted, and the ability to recycle a Wasteland, reuse a Talon Gates of Madara, there's so many things that this is capable of doing. And I don't want to alter this deck list too much because honestly, I think it looks pretty good. But I think this deck should really, really, really be considering Badgermole Cub. So I think what I'm going to do here is change out one of these. How do we feel about these arts? Do we like the yellow one? Yellow one's okay. I like this border. I think we're going to kind of split the difference on some bodies here and put a couple Badgermole Cubs into the deck. And it's very possible it should just be the entire playset. But let's just get a couple in there. And then the sideboard gives us some reasonable options to fight back versus artifact decks. And the game 1 deck does not have fatal pushes for Tamiyo, which is perhaps a problem, but hopefully we end up just going way, way bigger than a Tamiyo in a lot of cases. We'll see whether or not game 1 fatal push is something that I am missing immediately. We don't have something like Smallpox here that would serve as our removal for that creature, so we'll see how that feels. But we are, again, trying to do something relatively powerful that goes wide of traditional removal, and we'll see how this works out. Folks, if you need any Magic cards, please consider getting them from my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. They're awesome. I like those folks a lot. If you want to support me, you can do so by supporting them and using promo code ThrabenU to save a little bit on your order. So if you're looking to do some holiday shopping, check them out. All right, let's go Hogaak some fools. All right, opening hand is fine here. It's not overly impressive immediately since the only green land we have is an ETB tapped. I'm going to say no to that. If I get wastelanded, I want a true green producing land. Surveilling that kind of gives away what sort of deck I'm playing. And we'll probably learn immediately whether our opponent is on Blue-Red Delver or an 8-cast variation. My guess is that we're going to have an Izzet tempo deck here. Oh, maybe Nethergoyfs instead. And the reason why I say that is they targeted themselves, which is usually a sign that they're thinking about what they want to do with a fetch land. Now they'll target me. Now opponent is going to fetch. And I'm glad it's not Tamiyo. Ponder shuffles as well. My opponent gets their 2 redraws. And I'm picking up a Bayou. If I play Badgermole Cub next turn, I can potentially get some bonus mana out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and Impending a creature here, I think. I get Dazed. Now we've got a Scalding Tarn coming down. There's some real question of like what land I play this turn. I think I'm going with the not Gaia's Cradle. So let's Earthbend that little guy. Now this taps for an additional mana. I can't get black out of this for Bloodghast. I guess that means we're just doing Reclaimer. And then if I get to rotate this out of play, I can bring it back. Badgermole CUB prioritized over Elvish Reclaimer there. If circumstances were slightly different, I would like to wait to play this until there's another land in the graveyard. So that this is outside of range of Lightning Bolt, and it has to be things like Unholy Heat. I think my opponent gets to clear their graveyard before I can Bojuka Bog them, unfortunately. Yes, and I've used Talon Gates already. I don't think I have a Maze of Ith. So my best utility lands are gone. We'll probably end up doing something like Eumidian Hatchery to get Murktide blockers. So there's a Bloodghast, not anywhere close to its haste. I'm going to go ahead and put a land into graveyard here. Then we'll go 2 mana, junk the Mortuary, which just comes back. Although I guess the Surveilling is not hyper relevant here. Yeah, Dryad Arbor can go away. And we will get a Eumidian Hatchery into play. I'm doing this now so that this is a 3/4 and can't be lightning bolted reasonably. Ooh, that can take out the Eumidian Hatchery before it gets counters. Alright, they have eventually reached the decision that they should wasteland Eumidian Hatchery. Okay, they're saying, sorry, MTGO is lagging so much for me. I'm gonna tell them to reboot if they need it. And then a Quarry Steelcutter is coming down. And a Bobble. As a reminder, Bloodghast can't block. So now Murktide has come down, and Quarry Steelcutter with it. This probably means that I just die to combat damage next turn. Like, I take 8 right now, I'm at 11. There's a very good chance that this just turns into another monk. I guess I can try to fight the good fight here, but with nothing to cast and no real time to set up Eumidian Hatchery, I don't think this is going to be good enough. So there's spell number 1. That's a shuffle. I don't know that it matters. I think I am just going to get run over. Yeah, Lightning Bolt face means that Quarry Steelcutter is triggering. So I'm at 8 already. I can block this Murktide, but then if I block with this, I'm not actually blocking anything else here. I think my opponent clearly has this one. I just had too much mana and not enough time to set up. I have cards that I can play. I think that's a good way to put it. I have cards that I can play that are all medium. Like Fatal Push is not great versus Quarry Steelcutter. It's great versus DRC or Tameo if my opponent has that in flex slots. I could do Duress or Force of Vigor for Quarry Steelcutter. I think I will remove a couple of creatures to get a few things that can maybe take a Quarry Steelcutter out of hand. I don't love the idea of 2-for-1ing myself to answer Quarry Steelcutter. Maybe I just have to. I, in theory, can go much, much bigger than it. This is fine. If I get Eumidian Hatchery ticking up as quickly as possible, I don't necessarily curve out cleanly. But hopefully that's fine. Just do the Hatchery and pass. Volcanic Island and Actual Factual Delver. We'll tick up Hatchery and go back to my turn. Reclaimer is great. Everything I do other than Sylvan Safekeeper is just dazeable. I think I just accept that. Let's see if we can set up the CUB and use Hatchery multiple times. I'm fine with non-daze cards answering this. I don't care if Unholy Heat or Lightning Bolt answers it. Alright. So Hatchery will get to come back. And then next turn, hopefully I just have access to 4 mana. Delver flips to Ponder. If I have 4 mana, I can maybe Malevolent Rumble, try to make Elvish Reclaimer big, play Reclaimer. I'll take this hit. A Ponder. There's the fetch land to shuffle. And there is a Lightning Bolt. Alright, that means I have 3 mana this turn instead. I think I'm going to go ahead and Rumble here. Wasteland's not terrible. I was really hoping to fill the graveyard a little more there. I think I'm now going to go for Sylvan Safekeeper. And now I am threatening 3 different things that can block Delver, as well as just letting this tick up a little more before doing the sacrificing. ERC is good, obviously, and a Ponder as follow-up. I'm kind of interested in Green Sun for Grist on my turn, and then stonewalling attackers with a pile of, what are these, fairies? Insects? Insects. So I think I'll just take the hit this turn so I can use this as a land on my turn. And then we'll see what else happens. That's Lightning Bolt on the Sylvan Safekeeper. So if I want to sacrifice Eumidian Hatchery, this is the moment. So I guess the Balemurk CUB ability is going to make this come back anyway. And I'll blank that. Underground Mortuary is the draw. Don't think I'm going to wasteland right now. So there's a Green Sun for 3. Honestly, kind of wish that I just had Endurance here. There's the Grist. I will Grist minus. Go ahead and sacrifice the spawn. And blow up the DRC. Then send in with Safekeeper for 1. I'd like to avoid Murktide Regent and Corey Steelcutter here. If I do, I'm pretty well set up. Brainstorm's fine. Grafdigger's Cage is fine. Alright, Unholy Heat finishes off Grist. Delver now sends in. I am fine raiding 2 insect tokens for that. Okay. Without thinking about it too much, I think I am into this. I'm into this. Is a 4/4. I'm into Elvish Reclaimer. That one gets dazed. There's Mortuary. Balemurk CUB is certainly cute if my white makes it around the table. Let's say that that's fine. Yeah, and yeah. So my creatures are now hard. Excuse me. My creatures are now hard to remove. And the question becomes, does my opponent do something powerful this turn? I can Bojuka Bog them next turn to keep them off of Murktide Regent. Ooh, nice. So 1 and 2. There's Balemurk CUB. Let's Earthbend that Eumidian Hatchery. Bam. 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 That all seems fine. Then make some mana. Sacrifice the Eumidian Hatchery. Making friends. Returning the Eumidian Hatchery to play. Now I get a land card. That's Bojuka Bog. I'll clear out your graveyard. Oh shit. Well, I don't like what I have to do here. Yeah? 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 Taking 2? Taking 2 is probably fine. Go to 6. The only thing I die to is double Lightning Bolt. I'll return an Elvish Reclaimer. I'll cast an Elvish Reclaimer. And pass. Picking down this. Alright. Having cast that Brainstorm, I don't think my opponent has outs anymore. Maybe I should just get rid of the Bayou too. Maybe I just have enough on board that my opponent can't come back from that, and I should not give them the out of double Lightning Bolt. Price of Progress is very scary. Duress helps with that a little bit. I can go up on Duress. It also just hits Corey Steelcutter, which is big, big, big game. I could also just go down some of my top end to become a little more interactive. Like the Whites and Reclaimers and Balemurk CUBs might just be enough to kill my opponent. Like maybe I can just get rid of Hogaak completely. Go like +1 Duress, plus a Fatal Push. Go down a Green Sun or another Fatal Push. I don't have Boseiju in this list. That's also a little surprising. It seems quite good. Yeah, this is a fine assortment of cards. I get to just Duress immediately while ticking up Hatchery, so I like that a lot. There is an initial creature, and I am willing to take the one to get Hatchery going. That's an okay assortment of cards. Honestly, it may just be that I take something like Ponder, let my opponent Lightning Bolt a Balemurk CUB. I'm gonna take Ponder there. And maybe that just leaves my opponent in an awkward spot regarding the Brainstorm, where if they Brainstorm, they don't have a guaranteed blue card for Force of Will anymore. We'll see where it goes. The result may just be that my opponent gets rid of the Force of Will and just tries to find things that let them go turbo with DRC. Opponent does have a hyper aggro line where they fetch, that's 3 card types in graveyard, and they try to surveil an artifact or creature into the graveyard immediately with Lightning Bolt. I've drawn the Talon Gates. If I play Badgermole Cub, it gets lightning bolted immediately. Maybe we save that for a future turn. Let's go ahead and impending this instead. We pick up a white. I've got a reasonable set of cards, and hopefully I don't die before I get to deploy them. Opponent keeping everything off that Brainstorm, not choosing to fetch 2 cards away immediately. Another DRC. So I'm only taking 1 here, luckily. Next turn I probably take 6. No creatures in my graveyard for the white count yet. That maybe didn't need to be the fetch land, although I like putting that 3rd land into graveyard. So there's the Cub. There is the Force of Will. I was hoping that was gone, so I could also get white into play this turn. That did not happen. This is still 3 card types in graveyard. If Thundering Falls changes that, it does not. Brainstorm might. And the Brainstorm does. That is a Grafdigger's Cage. This is not all that big of a concern for me right now. This is the concern. I'll just take this up now. Taking 6 down to 8. Fatal Push is great. Let's take one of these out immediately. Then I think I am into this. This allows me to wasteland this if I feel like I need to for 4 creatures. I maybe should just do it in my turn so my opponent can't Price of Progress in response to this wasteland activation. That's a Murktide. This is still a 3/3. That has to attack. It's a little unfortunate that this is in my hand. I think I am hoping that my opponent does not have a Daze right now. So I will make friends, and we'll send everybody to party. Everyone can have a piece of DRC. Mox Diamond. That lets me play Grist around Daze. Let's say that that's fine to do. So there's Grist, sacrifice, an insect token, kill Murktide. Now I don't have a creature for this. I'll have a creature in a minute. Like, this is coming, and Grist plus on an insect is coming as well. But I think this is going to be just a touch too late. The Lightning Bolt that I suspect that my opponent still has can kill one of these 2. That's fine. There's Unholy Heat. Maybe that Lightning Bolt is gone. So there's Grist plus. Guess I need to pay attention to what I mill, because it is relevant. No to Mox Diamond. Now Overlord is going to become a creature. That's an Unholy Heat. Alright. Opponent is Hellbent versus my onboard Grist. Land is not what they're looking for. I will Grist plus. Malevolent Rumble. Bowmasters is fine. I think that just goes into play right now. I've already telegraphed this. Let's just do it while we know it's not going to be dazed or whatever. And send on in. Opponent's at 13. If they have a second Thundering Falls, negative. I'm not dead to Price of Progress. Bobble being a slow cantrip is bad on multiple different levels here. I'll wasteland one of your lands here. Plus a Grist. We'll send in with everybody except the Eldrazi spawn, who is on, I guess, Corey Steelcutter block duty. Opponent does cash in the Bobble. Means I get a Bowmaster ping. Opponent to 7, facing down 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage, so not dead yet. And we have gotten the GGs from my opponent there. We do win this one. Definitely was scary though. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you're looking to store your decks online, you're not going to find a better website. It's super organized and easy to use, and I sort everything that I do into a ton of format-specific folders, and you can customize the way that you use Moxfield to your liking. Whether you like text views or visual views of multiple different natures, Moxfield has it all. And it's so easy to use, you might even say that it's a snap. All right, opening hand is fine here. It's maybe not ideal in that I have a couple of black only producing lands with a bunch of green creatures. Hate this. As we have already talked about, my deck is not amazing versus Tamiyo. I think I'm going to try to get Reclaimer going immediately. I think I just want this active for possibilities with Eumidian Hatchery ASAP. And we're in play. Tamiyo makes a clue. And then I'm losing something good. Presumably my Bowmasters. I almost wish that, like, this deck's so bad versus Tamiyo that I almost wish that I had something like Caracas. But I often view as not ideal in decks like this. Okay. Well, Mox Diamond. I think I'm getting rid of the Bojuka Bog. 2 lands in graveyard. I think I'm going to go ahead and play out another Reclaimer, and then pass the turn with the ability to turn these into 3-power creatures, or the ability to Bowmasters. And my opponent knows about the Bowmasters, though. So if this is randomly Reanimator, and my opponent, surveils into something there, it can be kind of gross. We had the Bojuka Bog in the opener, which is a little weird. I think I just let this all happen, and we see where this goes. It's a Goyf. And again, the Bojuka Bog's over there. So I'm not in love with this. I think given that, I'm now going to try to make extra blockers with this land. And I get no Surd. Bloodghast is awkward here. I want to be using my mana to activate these. Let's Mortuary. No. Again, I don't have that many removal spells, so that just exists for the rest of the game. I think I'm going to end up Talon gating that out of play in the short term. I think I'm going to take 2 friends here. Activate this. Sacrifice. Pick up Talon gates. Phase that out so my opponent doesn't gain the life. Block so Kaito is not a thing. And I can maybe crack back for 8 and then find something that interacts with this. Opponent just draws. The second land drop means that Tamiyo transforms. Oh no, not transforming Tamiyo. Okay, good. Right, they're just going to do it on my turn. Badger Mole Cub. Badger Mole Cub, turn this into a thing. And then rotate it out, have it come back, phase that out again. Okay, alright, we're cooking. There's the Cub. Earthbend. This means that I'm attacking for 5, not 8. Hopefully we just finish the job next turn. This Talon Gates interaction is sick. So yeah, phase you out. Search for a land. The Dryad Arbor, do I just need that other point of power maybe? I legitimately might. I have more damage than it looks like because of Bloodghast here. Although Tamiyo transforming is a pain in the ass. Then I have 2, 4, 5 power instead. Probably enough to buy my opponent another turn. Tamiyo pluses. Him to Turok. Bloodghast to graveyard. That's not the worst. Opponent wastelands me. Plays a new Tamiyo. Alright, well that was annoying. So the thing that I do is very, very likely to resolve. I imagine Grist is just incredible. Let's go get Grist. I will Grist minus, I think, an insect token. Kill this Tamiyo, so that in combat I can kill that Tamiyo. And I don't think I'm going to push 1 point of damage here. I think I'm going to leave an extra blocker back. And then hopefully I just stabilize versus this with Grist pluses, and we can find some cute ways to stop the life gain with like a Dryad Arbor block and then sacrifice. I'll go ahead and block. Opponent cracks a clue. Brainstorming. Wasteland's actually annoying here if my opponent sees to hit the Dryad Arbor. And they do. Unfortunate for me. Bayou is not what I am looking for. Make this land drop. That returns Bloodghast, who does not have haste anymore. This Cub is coming in. I used Bog already. So a bunch of my cool targets are gone. I think I'm going to end up getting a Eumidian Hatchery. Am I just trading with this thing in combat? I don't really want to do that. I think, let's keep some damage up. So I'll just block with Insect Token here. If I need to, I'll sacrifice the Bloodghast to Grist and kill this. That's a Murktide. I'm gonna sacrifice Mortuary and pick up a Eumidian Hatchery, and my opponent should not let me untap with this, but they did let me untap with it, and I am thankful for that. I think the life gain is scarier than the 8/8 body. I think I handled the 8/8 body with hatcheries. I think I am going to lose the Grist, though, and just take out the Goyf here, play this, return the Bloodghast immediately, and then pass turn. Opponent gets the last of their Tamiyo value right here. I think I'm not wastelanding them. I think there's a good chance that a wasteland ends up transforming into another land elsewhere. So I have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, potentially 11 damage. I think I'm fine just doing this immediately. Pick up a new hatchery with that. Block the 8/8. Now we're chilling. Now I'll go ahead and sacrifice a wasteland. Pick up yet another Eumidian Hatchery. Opponent now takes out one of these. Mox Diamond's not what I'm looking for. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage. Theoretically on the swing in. I think I'm not going to go all out here. There are things like Orcish Bowmasters that my opponent can flash in, or they can Brazen Borrower. I think I'm just going to leave back what is effectively gain 8 life. Opponent down to 6, and we're chilling. So we're going to do the same play pattern as last turn, where we go ahead and sacrifice a hatchery. It makes an insect. This time, I'm just going to select here. Don't want wasteland. I just want a castable spell, and that's good enough for my opponent to concede. All right, that Tamiyo got a lot of value, but we threaded the needle successfully there. Do I win that one if my opponent wastelands the first Eumidian Hatchery that I tutored up? I have to go back and look. All right, I want to Fatal Push. I want to respect Tamiyo. Tamiyo is a good Magic the Gathering card. I don't hate Duress. My Eumidian Hatcheries did not get a ton of time to tick up. I'm going to go Hogaaks out and hope that this sort of stuff is just enough endgame. Oh, Ox Diamond, single land. I don't know about this one. Whereas this is going to be fine. I think I'm going to put the Talon Yates back into the deck in hopes of using that one later. It's weird because the Cradle may or may not actually be mana when I need it to be mana. But it could end up being really strong. Fatal Push is a good pickup here. I think I'm going to do this. This means that I'm not getting wastelanded immediately, and it leaves me the possibility of doing a Surveil land if I don't need to answer something like a Tamiyo immediately. All right, hold on. Mr. Percy wants to look out the window. All right. Mortuary. Mox Diamond. That's weird with Cradle. It means that I play cards around days immediately. I think I will accept that. Fight the much, much higher upside of Cradle. So let's go Bayou, Badger Mole Cub on Mortuary. It's a little frustrating that Bloodghast requires black when this gives me extra green. Now I'll Rumble. This one's Dazeable. I pick up a Eumidian Hatchery. Alright. I have a reasonable board presence that will get better. There's Bowmasters on the Mortuary. So that means that I get to Surveil again. I'll say no to Dryad Arbor. Land drop 3? That's a Goyf. I have Fatal Push available. So assuming no Force of Will, that's not actually all that bad. I need to have a permanent leaf play. That might be kind of awkwardly just using this. So there's Push. Whoa. That's a pretty big deal. We'll play that one around days. Then get a Bloodghast going. And I think I'm going to go ahead and push damage here. I am okay with this exchange. I don't love that Fatal Push, though. I really wanted to Bojuka Bog that graveyard. It's another one. Fuck. Well, that's not perfect. It is a way to chump block this. I don't really want to sacrifice a land in the face of 2 wastelands here. I think that is just happening, and I hope that it's not too bad. 14. It gets a Bowmasters. That's not great for me. Ponder's fine. Very fast shuffle. I think opponent is a little flooded. There's the Bowmasters. That's awkward. I don't want to sacrifice a land and get wastelanded twice and not be able to cast my big spells. At the same time, not cashing this in might be a mistake. I think I just lose to this if I don't have the ability to cast spells. I'm going to keep ticking this up and hope for the best. That is not the best. This can't block anyway. Opponent takes that. There's a land drop and I'll pass. Things are looking bad. This is where I need something like a Grist or a Fatal Push. I just need to remove a creature. Eating so much damage here. I'm down to 7. Goyf triggers again. Enough out, so that's something that needs to be on my radar. It's a Murktide. Rough. Opponent wastelands me once. Opponent wastelands me twice. Oh my god. Alright. That just is what it is. I'll surveil. Not gonna have enough mana for that to be good, unfortunately. Yep. I'll tick this up. Maybe I find a way to sacrifice it. That's not gonna do it here. Really, really felt our lack of removal there at the end. But we get another game. That's the good news here. Bloodghasts didn't exactly feel amazing. Could swap those for Hogaaks or Duresses. Bloodghasts are still part of the engine with whites, though. I'll keep them. It's also just value off of the cards like Malevolent Rumble that mill. Speaking of, hand's fine. Wish that I had removal, but I have like 2 Fatal Pushes, so I don't know that it is realistic or wise to try to mulligan to having removal immediately. Let's get some ETB tapped lands out of the way. How do we feel about that? I think I feel like that's not a removal spell. I think a removal spell or potentially another untapped land is just better than white. That's a good example of why. Another ETB tapped land. CUB. CUB's okay for next turn. I think I'm going to follow the same logic as white, though, and just say no. If my opponent has a Tamiyo, I would like to get closer to a Fatal Push ASAP. Alright. We are repeating this process. Hatchery? Hatchery is cool. I am fine getting that started. I just don't want my opponent to play Tamiyo. Like, playing Tamiyo when all of my cards start at 2 mana is so rough. Okay, that's not Tamiyo. Thoughtseize is fine. Swamp is not a land that casts Murktide Regent, so I don't need to be worried about Bojuka Bogging ASAP, so I can probably save that for my turn 3. Pick up Hatchery. Rumble or Overlord. Get a basic here, I think. This isn't Dazeable right now. I'm gonna just get this into play. Okay, milled a Bloodghast. Thing that sacrifices a land. Thing that sacrifices a land. Certainly enough lands in graveyard for it to be a 3/4 as well. Okay. Every turn that my opponent doesn't cast Tamiyo, I'm so happy. Oh, that was a very fast goodbye to that Reclaimer. I think I am now into Bojuka Bogging my opponent, even with that draw. This will be Dazeable. Mox Diamond, 3 lands in hand. I think I'm just going to take the fetch land. Bog you, clear out the graveyard. I'll get Bloodghast into play. All good there. Overlord to 3. I'm, again, very glad that my opponent is cantripping and not committing Barrowgoyfs and Tamiyos to the board. I feel very, very lucky in that regard. Grabbing the Underground Sea for a Douthie Voidwalker. Sure. That's very annoying. That's my immediate answer to it, though. Seems good. Very possible opponent has a counterspell, but if they don't, this is just exactly the card that I wanted to draw. Green Sun. Nice, no counterspell. Grist. Grist minus. Sacrifice the Eldrazi spawn, oddly. So that the Bloodghast can be around later for the next Grist activation. So this is at 2. I would love to find a way to sacrifice a Eumidian Hatchery. Okay, goodbye Grist. And there's the Tamiyo. Okay, I mean, there we go. So let's start here. A new Overlord is fine. Land drop. Fetch. Milled over the basic. Impending? I think I actually do it like this. Then impending. I'll return my grist. Seems good. We want to dodge Brainstorm because I can have 7 things that deal with Tamiyo very easily here. But they are a lot less good if Tamiyo pluses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And honestly, I think I just block that so a Kaito can't come down either. So this overblocks Tamiyo and stops Kaito from coming in. Barrow not a problem if Grist resolves. Now that is an if. That's pretty good too. I think I'm honestly going to Eluded Delta and just see what my options are. I've milled over a lot of stuff. So it's X equals 2 for White or Badger Mole Cub, or X equals 1 for Reclaimer. But I'll start here. Go ahead and minus, sacrifice, Bloodghast, kill the Goyf for mana efficiency here. I'm fine doing this for X equals 1. Grab a Reclaimer, punchies for 5, put opponent to 7. One of these is now live, and I have 3 more creatures queued up. I think I've got this one. It feels like my opponent just had air all game. Like they just drew cantrip after cantrip after cantrip and not enough things to throw on the table. I think I got more time than I deserved there. We're winning. I really, 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 really feel like we need more removal in this deck, but we are 2-0. All right, my opponent is on 6 cards. I think I'm just going to go ahead and get a Dryad Arbor here to open up the game. I think my deck is going to function well if I have enough mana to cast my spells. I have a lot of, and I mean a lot of things to do on 2 mana in this deck. Are you an honest Cavern of Souls, or are you about to go on Wizard? All right, I'm excited. Cavern on Human, let's go. Imprinting Once Upon a Time, Spirit Guide, Seasoned Dungeoneer. All right, I was really hoping for a Humans deck, but I'll take initiative. All right, I don't want to beat the removal Dead Horse, but damn, having a Fatal Push would be really cool here. Just Fatal Push Seasoned Dungeoneer, take the initiative, and win the game on the spot. I don't get to do that. I can probably take the initiative next turn. I think on 4 mana, I just want to be able to Green Sun for Grist. I think let's go. Bam. Make you tap for 2 mana. 2 mana immediately for Malevolent Rumble and just bank the extra mana. Talon Gates is interesting. I think I'm actually going to take Talon Gates. Talon Gates lets me contest the initiative a little better next turn if my opponent plays a new creature. They're not going as aggro as possible. No land pre-combat. There's a Wasteland, though. Excuse me, I'll take 3. I'm at 17. It's not the Wasteland. It is another Seasoned Dungeoneer. Badger Mole Cub being goaded. Sure. So I have 5 total mana. 4 of that is towards Green Sun. Or actually, I have 6 total mana. Okay. If I use the spawn. So let's play that. Phase you out. Bam, bam. There's X equals 3 for the Grist. I think I am using the spawn here. I could use Dryad Arbor and keep the spawn. Let's do that. I kill this Seasoned Dungeoneer. Dryad Arbor comes back. Badger Mole Cub has to attack. I want to anyway. I contest the initiative. I milled over the basic forest. I can Overlord. I might end up hardcasting that. I think I'm just doing Elvish Reclaimer. Then I leave my opponent with a choice of, are you leaving me with a Grist or are you taking the initiative back? I imagine taking the initiative back is just more important. Opponent agrees, revealing a Chrome Mox. And then we'll see how they're feeling about Archives versus Catacombs. Going to Catacombs. Could hit a Bowmasters with an Overlord ability. That would be kind of cool. Bye, Dryad Arbor. Wight of the Reliquary. I have Talon Gates in play already, which is, like, definitely awkward. Plus here, I can attack in with 2 creatures and take the initiative. Then Throne of the Dead 3 doesn't happen until the middle of my opponent's turn. Don't think there's a green sun thing that I want to do right now. If I Overlord, I can't white. This is colorless, colorless. Overlord hitting Bowmasters is really strong. I'm going to try to high roll here and get a Badgermole Cub that is castable instead. I'll just get another Reclaimer. I will send in with 2 bodies. Hopefully we successfully take the initiative here. All right, no blocks from the opponent. I think I'm going to go ahead and just forge up another body here. And maybe I'm supposed to do Elvish Reclaimer pre-combat. I guess I don't know whether or not this is going to be there. Overlord ticks down. Skeleton token's not getting through, but the Seasoned Dungeoneer is. Alright, the Skeleton token is coming in. Feeling Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Don't love that. Yeah, I think I needed to play that pre-combat. So this is coming at Grist. I would like to keep Grist. I think we're doing that. But this is Throne of the Dead 3. And it's not going to be good for me. There's an Anointed Peacekeeper there. There's just another Caves of Chaos Adventurer there. I don't really know that I'm just beating the large Seasoned Dungeoneer. But the Hexproof on Caves is rough. And my opponent's going to have 2 bodies on board, so it's not like I'm very likely to just push lethal damage here either. Not a great situation for me. Opponent is passing. Alright, now what? I can get... the Hexproof is rough. I can get a Badgermole Cub, turn Talon Gates into a land. That doesn't get me anywhere. Then I can't sacrifice it on my opponent's turn. I can sacrifice it on my turn with Grist. Alright, I think this is a 1 problem at a time situation. So I get the Badgermole Cub. I'll Earthbend a land. Doesn't really matter which one here. I Grist minus. I sacrifice the Bayou. I blow up Seasoned Dungeoneer. So very close to lethal. There a line where I try to go for trap more aggressively? No, it costs me all of my mana to do this. I think I'm just hoping that I present lethal next turn. If I attack in, I can get 5 damage in, and then trap my opponent, put them to 1. That doesn't quite do it. There can be 10 power on this thing, and its attack trigger is scary. Yeah, I think I punted this one. I think on the previous turn, I just let Grist die, I keep the extra power in play, and then I swing for lethal and kill with trap. I think I punted this one. Alright, opponent did go to not Forge. They went to Lost Well. I think I am just blocking a minimal amount. I'm not looking to trade here. Just looking to have lethal on my turn. I think I will just eat most of that damage here and hope to recover this. Romox. No imprint. Angel. I mean, if you got a fucking Restoration Angel or something over there, so be it. I guess I will do a pre-combat Malevolent Rumble, see if anything changes. There's a Wasteland. Doesn't really change things here. Let's Wasteland that brand new Cavern of Souls on Angel. That's what I thought. So, show me a piece of interaction. 3. Trap. Trigger. You know, it really doesn't feel like I should have won that game, but I sure did. GG. I don't have much removal. I can get 2 copies of Fatal Push in here, and those are okay. There are some non-creature permanents that I could conceivably care about, but it's mostly creatures. I think we're just going to do this. Bowmasters is perhaps not at a premium here, but it's a flash creature that could come in at end of turn and steal the initiative. Hogaak is very slow. Overlord is very slow. I think I'm hoping that one of these 2 games I can just luck sack through with Eumidian Hatchery. Bloodghast? Bloodghast doesn't attack very well through a lot of things like Anointed Peacekeeper. It's also just possible that I do not have time to set up things like Malevolent Rumble here. I actually think that might be true. Yeah. I don't know that I get to play for Malevolent Rumble and for Overlord here. in a matchup that I expect to be very, very, very fast on average. This has a Wasteland. I'm in. Okay, cool. Opponent did not do a thing on turn 1. I love that for me. That means that this Wasteland has a really high impact. My opponent is trying to get to 4, and they were not able to get to 4 on turn 1. Well, we got to 3 on turn 2. I'm going to presume that the Chrome Mox was the draw for turn, and hope that this is not Blood Moon or Magus of the Moon. Alright, it is Caves of Chaos Adventurer, which is also just very, very, very good. Getting Forest. So, I think I just need to ramp here. Going to do the basic land into Dryad Arbor. Dryad Arbor threatens to take the initiative while also just being a land drop. I'm going to take 7, then 14, then Trap. Dead. This kills me so quickly. Undermountain Adventurer as well. Yeah, now we're quickly approaching the, like, geez, I really need Fatal Push situations. That's not Fatal Push. So I can go land, Badgermole Cub, play a second 2-drop. I can go... Okay, what if we do this? Get the Swamp, Badgermole Cub, Earthbend, 3 lands in Graveyard, Reclaimer. This is a respectable amount of power, but I was really hoping to outright win this game by wastelanding my opponent. It did not buy me any time. My opponent has 6 mana. Yeah, alright. So now that I've seen Broadside, do I want to / need to Disruptor Flute? That's very awkward. I'm gonna try rolling like this. There's some desperation plays of like Duresses and Force of Vigors I could try to do to strand things in my opponent's hand, but they're just going to be very good at making mana relatively consistently. This hand doesn't do anything. I'm going to try to fish for better than that. This is better. I don't know that this qualifies as full-on good, but this is better. Opponent has a Chancellor to kick things off. That's pretty annoying. I think I just have to feed it a spell. I don't think I can take the turn off here against a deck that is relatively good at getting 4 mana on turn 1. I think I just feed it a spell and know that these things are okay at getting me somewhere in the long game. Opponent finds Wasteland. Sure. Gotta just kind of trust in the deck here. That's not bad. Not going to show that Wasteland. I would love to Wasteland an Ancient Tomb that my opponent plays out or whatever. Damn it. No, just let me Wasteland the Soul Land. Just pass the turn. Don't have double Lotus Petal. Yeah. So now my opponent has kind of broken board parity, and they just put 4 mana into play immediately. So I can Wasteland that, but then there's still the Seasoned Dungeoneer in play. And I don't want to beat the dead horse, but I sure don't have very many Fatal Pushes to draw to. Like, Fatal Push, remove this, Wasteland that is such an incredible turn. Is this required? I may. I'll just leave that in Graveyard. Awkward. Alright, opponent opting for some selection here, which I think is good for me. If I am stumbling here, I do not have green mana. Taking at least 3 here, down to 17. There's Plains. Opponent has all of their basics. And a Spirit Guide. That's another one. Okay, I think this is lights out. So my opponent has 6 power in play. My Mox Diamond is not doing anything here. They're getting to Catacombs and then Throne of the Dead 3. I will tap out there. We just don't have enough removal to stay competitive here. And the Chancellor really threw off my game as well. GG. Alright, I would like a little more mana with this opening hand. What? Fascinating. Okay, well, I'm going to Wasteland my opponent. It looks like they're up to no good of some kind, and I did get a little bit more mana. So what are they likely to be playing with Ancient Tomb and Meticulous Archive? Be Show and Tell, and that's just a random Surveil land. Could be some weird artifact deck. I don't think I'm expecting Wasteland from that. I think I'm just going to go ahead and get a Bayou and Accelerate. And there's our Dryad Arbor. If there's another Surveil land, and if so, is it the same colors? It's different colors. Esper Ancient Tomb deck. Multiple Ancient Tombs. Sort of weird Blink deck. Alright, losing Dryad Arbor sucks. I'm just going to confirm. I believe I have 1 Dryad Arbor. I do have 1 Dryad Arbor. I think I've got enough mana here that I just attack this stuff. And I'm going to attack the one that casts Ephemerate in the absence of knowing exactly what my opponent is doing. Ancient Tomb. I'll take 2. That's fine. Goyf. Okay. I'll take a moment to beat the Fatal Push, Dead Horse. What is my plan for this? I have 1 creature card in graveyard currently. My plan might be trade with it in combat. Grab a Bayou. I think just while my opponent is tapped out here, I'm going to take out their Bowmasters. I'm not Force of Negation main deck as well. I'm getting Thought Seized. Losing white, which was my plan to trade with Barrow-Goyf. So I hate that. The opponent is just Esper good cards with Ancient Tomb to accelerate out the Goyf. My opponent has another Goyf in hand now. Alright. I think this is now getting a basic forest. X equals 2. Get something that's big. This is a 5/5. Currently trades with this Goyf. Then my opponent plays another, and we have to deal with that one. I will trade. I think I just have to do that. I can't take these hits here. I'm already at 7 life. Now we have to deal with this one. I can Malevolent Rumble to buy myself a little bit of time. Okay, I mean, that'll work too. But I am just hemorrhaging value here. So there's 6/6. Nah, I need better than that. I think I'm very dead to my opponent having a spot removal spell. I mean, that's very good. It takes Malevolent Rumble. But I think my opponent just gets to attack me for 2 here. Wow, gaining a bunch of life. And Bloodghast does not block these creatures. And I haven't randomly milled over anything super cool like a Hogaak. Nowhere near Bloodghast having haste, believe it or not. I'll pass turn here. I do have another Underground Mortuary that I can use to select my next draw. Again, Bloodghast does not block. Very, very much wish this was a Badger Mole Cub right now. Down to 2. Big moment. Need something that stabilizes the board here. That doesn't fully stabilize it, but it helps. So there's Reclaimer. Only 20 more life to get through. No big deal. Opponent fetches. And Swords to Plowshares. Alright, swords means I'm not dead immediately. I'll take that. Not sure if you cast the swords there. I think you can wait until your turn to see if you draw something else like a Bowmasters, but I don't fully know what their mana requirements are. I guess there's some blue things like Murktide Regent that make you want to cast it on end step. Yeah, I think I take that back. Brainstorm? Leaving up the white rather than the black. Seems like their deck is more black focused based on what I am seeing so far. Unsure whether or not that is correct. Larian Conqueror. Sure. That means that I am dead in the air. GG. I just simply don't have enough removal. Fatal Push has come in. The rest of this stuff I'm not really excited about. I think I'm going to give up on the Bloodghasts. Alright, I have a reasonable mix of lands and spells that I think make it okay to keep this hand. But again, I don't have removal. But hopefully Eumidian Hatchery can buy a lot of time. I don't think I've ever seen a Hogaak in this league. Just hanging out at the bottom of the deck somewhere. Let's get Eumidian Hatchery going. I think with Badger Mole Cub. So let's just go ahead and Earthbend that. And I've got ways to search up land sacrificing off of Green Sun. I don't know that I'm into Sylvan Safekeeper or anything. Ooh. Let's play this in the way that potentially allows me to find a Wasteland this turn. Malevolent Rumble. None of those cards are Wasteland, unfortunately. I'll get a white. So land drop, fetch, Bayou, white, combat, 2. So this lets me sacrifice my Eumidian Hatchery to go and find a Wasteland. The Wasteland will be tapped, but it will still hopefully do a lot of damage. My opponent has shuffled. They did find a land. Inquisition misses the Overlord, which is my better card there. A new Badger Mole Cub. I don't think I'm doing that. I think this is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Overlord, fully miss. I guess I should have Mortuaried first. I'll say no to that. Combat. Send on in. I don't need to sacrifice these immediately. Opponent is at 12, facing down, lethal. End of turn. Sacrifice Eumidian Hatchery. And that's good enough for my opponent. They just did not play Magic there. There are costs to playing a multicolored mana base that is trying to Ancient Tomb and Wasteland, and we saw it there. I can have 2 mana on turn 1. Have the Hogaak. I think I'm going to try to make this work. I think this ends up being really good if I find another land, especially a Wasteland. Bayou, Mox Diamond, discard Bayou, Rumble immediately. Maybe I just Badgermole CUB immediately. This just sets up for... Well, I guess they're both 3 mana next turn, but this is 3 mana for a longer, prolonged period of time. So I guess if my opponent has swords for this, then this is just a regular mana producer. Alright, and that is what happens. Opponent remarked in chat that it's crazy that the Badgermole CUB text of like the Earthbending also just lets this come back if it gets exiled instead. So now I think I'm trying to hit land drops here. I'll go ahead and Malevolent Rumble. Oh my god, I miss. Bowmasters. So my spawn does not cast any of my spells, unfortunately. Luckily, there's a lot of timelines where I just... fuck. So, my Bayou now doesn't tap for land because Clarion Conqueror. That's not great. Yeah? Guess I'm getting a Forest. Elvish Reclaimer. Oh, fuck, you're not fucking green. You're fake green. Alright, I need another thing before I can Hogaak then. Yeah, but Clarion Conqueror eliminating 3 of my mana sources at the same time is brutal. And back up Clarion Conqueror. Sure. This is going to kill me quickly. Hopefully I draw another land. Thank you, Mox Diamond. Wait, hold on. Do I need to be attacking with Bayou? That's fucked up. Yeah, I think I need to be attacking with Bayou. Should have done that last turn. Alright. I'm on a 3-turn clock to these Clarion Conquerors. I can potentially clock back if my opponent doesn't cast more spells and I get to, like, floop a Hogaak into play. Stock up is fine. Ancient Tomb. Sure. Well, that's a land, but it sure doesn't cast this or this or this. So, I end up wastelanding my own Bayou, or I can Elvish Reclaimer activate now, I guess. Yeah. Oh no, I can't fucking activate this. Clarion Conqueror confirmed good. Yes. I maybe just don't race the Clarion Conquerors anymore if I just get clocked for 6 this turn. None of these things in my hand have reach. It's also a little hard for me to get Revolt for Fatal Push at this point. I'm at 6. Okay. Now even if I block or kill one, I'm just still dead to the other 2. Clarion Conqueror has some very strong interactions against what I'm doing here. GG. Alright, I have a mediocre looking hand here that is like 1 hatchery away from being quite good. I think I'm going to kind of reluctantly keep this. I have the Hogaak. I don't have ways to fill up the graveyard. Like, there's so many things that just improve this. Hatchery is great. Malevolent Rumble or Overlord is fine. Force of Will pitching stock up. Well, it could be another copy of that last deck. I think it is more likely that we are playing against some show and tell deck here, though. And Elvish Reclaimer is being aggressively Force of Willed because it can represent a Karakas. There's a fetch land to shuffle. Alright, we're working towards some cool stuff here. I think when my opponent goes to fetch with Polluted Delta, I'm just gonna floop a Bowmasters into play. Yeah, there's my window. Boop. So this is 2 bodies in play for Hogaak. So I can potentially just Hogaak next turn. Yeah, this is looking like show and tell. Alright, that's stock up, not show and tell. I'm happy with that. Stock up gets around Orcish Bowmasters, though, which I'm less happy about. Badgermole CUB. I think this is just Malevolent Rumble, though. Ooh, shit, Wasteland. Hell yeah. The Wasteland your thing that produces 2 mana. And then bam. black, black, A1, not sacrifice. And then I'll end up leaving a creature in graveyard for Overlord purposes. Alright, we've got the Gak. I have 10 damage next turn. 10 damage is not lethal, even after a fetch. Okay, that's a stock up. Bloodghast does not have haste yet. Honestly, just like to find something that lets me wasteland my opponent again. If I sacrifice my Eldrazi spawn, I can Badger Mole CUB and play a second card. Or Badger Mole CUB and attack for 1 more point of damage. I think White of the Reliquary just lives in my hand as something that I can put in off of Show and Tell and potentially phase out a creature. I don't know that I'm overly excited about Mox Diamond here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, potentially 7. I'm just thinking about Emrakul Annihilates. Yeah, maybe we're caring about Emrakul Annihilation triggers here. I'm going to go ahead and put Badger Mole CUB in play, turn a Bayou into a land. Then I have something else that lives if I do get annihilated. I think the difference between 3 and 4 life for like getting in 1 extra damage I don't think is relevant. Alright, there's Brainstorm. Oh, I guess Brainstorm is a reason to push 1 more point of damage. Brainstorm triple Orcish Bowmaster trigger. Yeah, okay, that's a very real reason. Opponent waiting to pay costs on something. Nope, they're just dead. Alright. So let's assume Duress and Disruptor Flute are good. We can attempt to Force of Vigor away Omniscience. That often doesn't go the way that you want it, just in terms of priority passes. I don't know what I'm getting rid of. The answer is probably some of my slower stuff. I think I like Hogaak. I don't know that I can get rid of all of these, but it may just be I get rid of some lower impact cards. I could shave a land, but Mox Diamond really wants me to consistently have more lands than I need access to. From 1 Green Sun. Very, very happy to get game 1 here. This is a fine pair of Orcish Bowmasters. But again, some of the things like stock up don't actually draw cards. Let's get a Reclaimer into play immediately and try to rely on Hatchery, Bowmasters, Wight in some combination to just aggro this game out while threatening some disruption. Or in Revealed Cycles, 2 basics in play. Dryad Arbor is kind of whatever. I'm gonna take the 1 point of damage here and give up the flexibility. I think I'm just always casting Orcish Bowmasters. I think I need more Eumidian Hatchery value than just this. With that on the stack, if I'm gonna cast this spell anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and cast it now. Actually a little awkward that I have the Talon Gates in hand already. But, you know, there's some Gaia's Cradle angles that I could take instead. Or a Wasteland angle. Mox Diamond. Mox Diamond is not bad. Getting another land in graveyard is definitely relevant. Take the Swamp here. I think I am sending in with these, and after no blocks, I go ahead and do play the other Bowmasters. There is also a line where I just hold up 4 mana to be able to hard put in Talon Gates and phase something out. But this game may come down to individual points of damage. Alright. Let's now go ahead and activate Hatchery. That gives me 2 friends. I think this is just a Wasteland situation. Although holding up Talon Gates activation is now kind of interesting. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I might just be holding up Talon Gates. Weird. Yeah. I think I am passing the turn here. That is down to 2. Ancient Tomb is not live. I can Wasteland this Tropical Island if I want. That's Intuition. Or triple Show and Tell. Well, you get a Show and Tell. I think I'm holding Talon Gates over Wastelanding that Tropical Island. Okay. Very glad that I made the decision that I did. So here's Show and Tell. There's the White. And we see where this goes. Opponent cannot cast a Brainstorm or Ponder, or they die to Bowmasters. I currently beat something like an Emrakul. That probably wins the game outright, though. There's shared summons for Atraxa Emrakul. This doesn't beat me yet. There's a very good chance that it will end up doing so, but it doesn't beat me yet. None of those... These were revealed previously, so none of those are creatures. So my opponent gets another Cunning Wish and stock up, potentially. So my plan is phase out Atraxa so that my opponent does not gain life, and just sacrifice a bunch of permanents. This is fine. So, there's attacks. Trigger. Yeah. Phase out the Atraxa. You can Cunning Wish for the stupid counterspell if you have it. Sublime Epiphany. Yeah, there we go. And that counters his trigger, and then that does it. Alright, so now that is lethal. Unfortunate. Very close there. About the only consideration is whether or not I want to attempt to Force of Vigor the Omniscience after a show and tell. I think I'm going to go with no. I think often enough an Emrakul cast or an Atraxa cast ends up beating me anyway. I'll just keep things that allow me to maintain aggression. This is a one-card hand that has Reclaimer and Hatchery. I can get them ticking immediately. I don't think this is enough gas. This is a much better version of that previous hand. I think I'm getting rid of Mox Diamond. Turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. Yeah, I think I'm getting rid of Mox Diamond. Let's go get a Bayou. Throw the Reclaimer into play. I sat on the stack for a little while. Opponent might have a Force. Misty and a Ponder. This is a hand where if I have a little time to set up, it will become very strong, but I am worried about just outright dying very, very, very quickly here. Another Hogaak is not what I am looking for. I think I am just following my outline pattern of put 2 colored creatures into play and then Hogaak afterwards. Or trying to. Opponent has Spell Pierce against me. I mean, that can trade with Malevolent Rumbles, but that does not hit very many of my cards. Alright, it's not show and tell. Stock up, also obviously quite powerful. Ooh, that's nice. I'm going to assume that I usually end up doing that. But that's still quite nice. Ooh, Disruptor Flute? That's totally reasonable. I think I take that over white. So 2 lands in graveyard, 3 lands in graveyard. Hit for 3. Next turn I have Disruptor Flute for show and tell. Fetch land? I'm also getting to the point where I can just Elvish Reclaimer, sacrifice Hatchery, and produce a Hogaak. Hogaak's very close to just a 1-turn clock, if not an actual 1-turn clock. Ponder's fine. I think I want another untapped land as my draw. Battle and passing. Okay, that is technically an untapped land. That is technically what I asked for. Alright, that's good with Hogaak. So there's the Disruptor Flute. My opponent will fetch with Misty in response, at minimum. Oh, they let it resolve. I'm going to assume that that was an intentional choice. And I think I still just name show and tell rather than trying to get them on that. Green, green, A. Get rid of you. Leave the lands in yard for this. And this is lethal next turn. Misty fetches. Basic Forest. Veil of Summer. That's just a card draw. That's fine. Alright. Opponent has to win through Disruptor Flute. Show and Tell costs 6 mana, so it requires Soul Land plus Lotus Petal plus Show and Tell plus Omniscience plus Emrakul. Here sounds like 5 perfects. That should leave my opponent dead. And there is the concession. We win that one. I think that's a 3-2 overall in the league? Yes, it is. So let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Needs more main deck removal, but was solid despite that. I am very glad that I replaced some Bloodghasts with Badgermole CUB. Badgermole CUB looked good all league. Bloodghast was unimpressive. Without putting too much thought into it, I imagine that this deck needs 3 to 4 main deck fatal pushes. I guess my biggest question here is, is what we are doing better than just playing some Mana Dorks and Springheart and Nantucko and just doing things like we have seen from some of our opponents yesterday? This is a solid pile of cards, but I don't know that playing Malevolent Rumble and Overlord is better than just playing more cards that are threatening right now. It also feels really weird to me that this deck does not have Endurance. I think I would play Endurance over Leyline of the Void in the sideboard to just have more reasonable, good, fair cards to bring in for your various fair graveyard matchups. And if you bring Fatal Push into the main deck, you can maybe make some room in the sideboard for some extra discard. So, Marco, I think you've got something that is totally reasonable here. But I think Elvish Reclaimer activations, Bowmasters, Bloodghasts, Malevolent Rumble, Wight, Badger Molcob, and Overlord castings is just so much at 2. I think you need some more 1-mana interaction in there. Or some more 1-drops, generally speaking. But this was a fun league. I had a great time. I hope you all enjoyed watching, and I hope you have a great rest of the day, folks. See ya!